Just the two headlines. 6 months later, Republicans have a new January 6th message, insurrection, what insurrection? And then in ramp up to 2022 midterms, Republican candidates center pitches on Trump's false election claims. This is their party now. Mm-hmm. This is their party. And you know who might know a little something about this? A little something. There's only one man now that understands, and that's the author of Idiot America.
Pierce. Pierce.
Charlie Pierce, political columnist for Esquire.com.
Why's everybody always laughing with me?
Good morning, Charlie Pierce.
Good morning, Jody.
That was trembling. Ooh.
Wow.
Hey, you know what? When you guys were talking about alleged coke whores and stuff.
Yes.
And then you started talking about vaccines. Mm-hmm. I just realized that Stephanie is thoroughly Moderna Miller.
Thank you.
There you go.
Thank you, Charlie.
There you go.
All
right.
Yeah, I wrote that down too, so I wouldn't screw it up.
Charlie, it is really, I mean, just those two headlines, right? It is a party just completely disconnected from reality. You have to run on the big lie, and you have to run on, January 6th was a normal tourist day, right?
Well, no, I mean, to me, thankfully, you're helping the blog along, because I just finished writing a post about this. It's also an indication of the complete political impotence of the Never Trump people. I mean, yeah, thanks, Liz Cheney for, mouthing off, and Adam Kinzinger is the king of all green rooms. But the fact is, when the rubber is meeting the road out in the States, they have no influence at all.
Right. Yeah.
The people that are getting elected, the people that to state office, and this is what that Washington Post story, the part of the Washington Post story scared the hell out of me. Those people are all on board, and they're going to be drawing the electoral maps, in the next session of their state legislatures. And they're the farm team for the next bunch of Congress critters.
Yeah. I mean,
this is where it's at. This is, the idea that, and not only that, but now we're seeing reports that a lot of the corporate donors who, made a big show of disengaging themselves from people after the January 6th insurrection, well, they've found a way to give money back to those folks, just giving it to the PACs and not directly to the candidates.
Right. Well,
So,
a Democratic strategist in this piece you spoke of, Charlie, in the Washington Post said, literally in almost every swing state, we have someone running for Secretary of State who has been fear-mongering about the 2020 election or who was at the insurrection. Democracy will be on the ballot in 2022. I mean, even if we have it by then. I mean, but you're right. This Post story, Charlie, candidate to be Arizona's top election official, said recently he hopes a review of the 2020 ballots in his state will lead to a reversal of Trump's defeat there. In Georgia, a member of Congress who used to focus primarily on opposing same-sex marriage has made Trump's false claim of the election was stolen a central element of his bid to unseat the current Secretary of State, Raffensperger, right? Mm-hmm. In Virginia, a political novice who joined Trump's legal team to try to overturn the 2020 loss in court mounted a primary challenge and won after attacking a Republican state house member who said he had seen no evidence of fraud in the election. Republican candidates for state and federal office are increasingly focused on the last election and running on the false head that the election was stolen. I mean, I just have never seen this, Charlie. It's an entire party. It's not. You're right. That's just it.
And unfortunately, the only political remedy for it is complete and utter electoral destruction.
Yeah. Right.
And the only vehicle for that, equally unfortunately, is the creaky old Democratic Party, which can't get out of its own way.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah.
It's alarming as hell. I was surprised how shook I was by that Washington Post story. I knew what was going on. I mean, because you see, scattered reports of somebody running for, primarying a Republican Secretary of State or primarying a Republican Attorney General. But to see it all in one place like that, coupled with this PBS story at pbs.org, if you want to read it, about the corporate money starting to follow the crazy. Political money follows success. And
Right.
this case, political money follows the crazy. And both of those things together, given what shambles the Supreme Court has left both voting rights and campaign finance in. It's a terrifying moment right now, and it's up to the Democrats to find a way to make political advantage out of it. And I'm not sure they're up for the job.
And Charlie, it's all of the stories we've been talking about just even this morning. There's no other way to say it. They are a party that has become disconnected completely from reality, be it about January 6th, the 2020 election, or COVID, right? I mean, the other story in the Post, right? Red state governors imploring their constituents to get vaccinated because the Delta variant is now, causing another surge in unvaccinated areas in red states. It's become just, again, a party and a whatever, just completely unmoored from the facts on the ground about anything.
Yeah,
right?
I regularly correspond with an emergency room doctor who works in the what you can call the Winters Bone Corridor between Arkansas and Missouri.
Right.
He's now stuck with patients because he doesn't have any place to send them,
Yeah.
because all the places he was sending them are full
Yeah.
in Missouri and Arkansas.
And they're
Yeah.
like looking around going, oh, look, 4th of July, it's over. COVID's over. It's like, not for you. Even the Republican governor said, you're in a death lottery. Like, we gave prizes if you got vaccinated, but now do you think, Charlie, there's going to be any kind of movement on this as they hear at least that message over and over from Republican governors that you were.
Well, I mean, I thought, during the height of the pandemic, the previous height of the pandemic, I guess, that what would change their minds is watching their neighbors drop like flies. But apparently that doesn't do it.
Yeah.
That the ambulance is going down the street every couple of days because, Meemaw, can't breathe all of a sudden, that would convince folks that, maybe there was something to this thing. Nope.
Yeah.
Nope.
Well,
everyone's bulletproof.
Yeah.
Donald Trump said they're bulletproof.
So this other story about, Republicans have a new January 6th message, insurrection. What insurrection? So 6 months, it's only 6 months ago, by the way. Right. They, from calls to let bygones be bygones to punishing dissidents who dare criticize Trump for instigating that day's attack to literally describing the mob as no different from everyday tourists, the Republican Party, with notable exceptions, has pushed the idea that the unprecedented attempt to overthrow American democracy was really no big deal. Fully 41% of Americans believe the riot has received too much attention compared to 50% who do not. The figure driven by 68% of Republicans who say that. And I was quoting Lawrence Tribe, who just said, like, we've been so numbed by Donald Trump in these last 4 years. The piece just says the process of memory holding that day reflects Trump's continued success at fashioning an outrageous lie and then browbeating Republican leaders into going along with him. Be it McCarthy, McConnell, anybody that stood up on that day and said something. Right now, it's like, I mean, I don't know how you think. I feel like it's worse for them, Charlie. What do you think that they could have had a bipartisan commission, but now they have a bipartisan. Liz Cheney's on it, but they don't have the power they would have had.
Again, though, that's the case that has to be made by the creaky old Democratic Party.
Right.
And they've got to do it without being afraid of offending their alleged Republican friends.
Yeah.
The Republican Party has to be destroyed.
Yeah.
Top to root and branch,
Yep.
burned down to the ground and a parking lot put up in its place.
Joni Mitchell style.
And salt the earth.
Yeah.
And exactly. So it never grows. So this kind of thing never grows again.
Yeah.
Because Republican delenda est. But the problem is the vehicle for doing that, can't get out of the garage without forgetting to open the door.
Yes, one expert on authoritarianism said Americans are still somewhat uncomprehending that it can happen here in terms of the demise of their democracy. I think that's true. I think people are like, oh, COVID's, I can go have a barbecue. They're just, I mean, I do think there's that there is not the fierce sense of urgency that we need for this moment.
No, and there are far too many people out there who've been being fed this unadulterated swill, 24 hours a day on the radio and 8 hours a night on television about government, quote unquote.
Yeah.
So they don't care. If government starts working against them, they don't care because they've thought it's been working against them all along.
Yep.
Well,
You know, I mean, they're convinced, and this started with Ronald Reagan. They're
Yeah.
convinced that government involvement is a bad thing, and that everything the government does is wrong or bad. Therefore, if the government turns fascist, well, you know, we thought, you know, these are people who thought, you know, getting vaccinated, wearing a mask was fascist.
yeah.
So when actual fascism comes, they're all ready for it. Are you kidding? They've been living, you know, in fascism of the imagination for 30 years now.
Yeah, I mean, Charlie, someone said Biden's pushing the largest tax increase in history, and you just said this is most assuredly a non-fact, which is another expression for lie. But it's just, I was sitting next to a big, wealthy Republican lady, you know, just doing just doing these talking points. Well, we have open borders now. That's not good. I'm like, no, we don't have what? And then just about, I don't want the government involved in. She told some long story about I don't want the government involved in healthcare. I'm like, well, I'm Medicare for all. So look, can we just stop talking now? 'Cause I can't.
Where was this dinner party?
You don't need to know. It's okay.
Oh.
Were you doing undercover work or something?
Yeah, now our interest is piqued. You don't need to know. That's on a need to know basis.
You're on a need to know basis. I want to say.
God.
Anyway.
What was it?
At least you have humility. You said to Lauren Boebert, "My eternal apologies to boxes of rocks, sacks of hair, and bags of hammers. You deserve better."
and that, by the way, was before we had
That awful quote,
14 tweet thread from Marjorie Taylor Greene, which if nobody's seen it, go to Twitter right now and read it because it's amazing.
Oh my God. Well, I mean, like, who was it? Even
DeWine.
DeWine.
It's like she saw what Boebert tweeted and said, "Okay, you know, I'm cranking up the Enola Gay here, folks."
It's crazy, yeah. Enola Gay, crazy.
Oh God.
No, even DeWine, who's somewhat reasonable, sometimes Republican governor of Ohio, is sending troops to the border. He's sending National Guard to the border. They're going to be their thing. We have open borders. Like, no, we don't. Have what? I mean,
stop saying he's somewhat reasonable.
Okay, sorry.
There are none.
Okay.
Nobody in the Republican Party should be assumed to be reasonable
I apologize.
or a dependable ally or a someone worthy of anything but pity at this point.
Yeah.
And not much of that.
Yeah. All right. I've been.
The party has completely, totally, utterly lost its mind. It has kicked the bucket.
Yeah.
It has died and gone to meet its maker.
I am going to say my Hail Marys and Our Fathers. I'm in Catholic confession now.
Do an entire rosary.
You are correct. I will do the entire rosary.
You did. I mean, you did good things this weekend, though. So you're going to go to heaven. You went and saw your mama, and you did so in the face of mourning for Fred. And,
yeah, that's a good thing for
I
me.
haven't taken an airplane yet. Is taking an airplane weird now?
Yes. Sean and I both were freaked out. Yeah, because of I had a guy at my gate with a mask under his nose that said, "I'm being forced to wear this on the mask."
Who cares, pal?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is he expecting like hundreds of people to jump to his defense?
I know. And then
I'm being held hostage by my own immune system.
Yeah, I didn't see it, but the lady next to me on the plane said somebody else was making a fuss about having to wear a mask on the plane. I apologize to the flight attendant on behalf of all of America. He said, "I'm sorry, people are such holes to you." I apologize.
I find myself apologizing for white people all the time.
Yeah, as we should.
I really do. I mean, I'm very sorry. My family didn't get here till 1912, but still.
Charlie, seriously, do we have more jerks? Or what degree do you blame Donald Trump? Or do we always have this many jerks that people just being jerks to each other?
But I don't think they felt quite as free to be jerks in public.
Exactly.
And
They're entitled now.
unapologetically as they do now.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if you saw the video of the guy in New Jersey.
Yeah.
That guy knew he was being filmed.
What did he do? Which one's that?
We went on this racist tirade against his. I think the guy is actually African neighbor.
Yeah.
And he kept turning to the woman who was recording the whole thing on her cell phone and saying, "Yeah, you're taping this good, because I'm, and then dropped N-bombs like, M&Ms. And apparently the entire neighborhood turned out to applaud when they arrested him.
Well, there's a silver lining. There you go.
And anybody who's worked in a hospitality or a service position knows that there have always been these kinds of jerks.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, we have an anti-jerk
And
contingent
Chris,
as well,
you
I guess.
You worked in Wingnut Radio, right?
Well, we get our fair share of jerks.
WJERK, everybody. Good morning. We're all jerks. Okay. Love you, Charlie. Say goodbye to your
Hey,
love.
we'll see
your
you
lover.
guys. Bye, Judy.
Bye,
Have a good
Charlie.
weekend. Bye.
Thanks, Charlie.
All right. Thank you. 49 minutes. I mean, do we even need to do a commercial for the Steph store? I mean, the shirts are flying off the right. Look at this. Look at it. Get your face
Look
up
at
there.
that.
Get your face up there. Look. We have them for Team Pfizer, Team J&J. We are all Team Vaccine here. We have amazing.
That's right.
And you can get it on everything. Right, Chris? Not just shirts.
Bath mats, shower curtains. You can get it on art, a clock. You can get a
Duvet.
selfie bomb on a clock.
We have Stephanie Miller swag. We have sexy liberal swag. And, of course, all the vaccine shirts. Get it now. StephanieMiller.com. Whee!